All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:30 on Tuesday, which means it's live stream Tuesday time. No idea why, but my voice is hoarse. Maybe because I did 2 updates yesterday, but actually I do a lot more updates than that. But one way or the other, my voice is hoarse, but I'm here ready to do the Tuesday live stream. And hey, we are 2 days away from Thanksgiving 2024. So before I do anything, I want to wish all of you, your families, your friends, a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully, you have, if you're traveling, a safe trip, and that you have a really wonderful, beautiful Thanksgiving with your friends and families. In this live stream, things that you can discuss with your friends and family when you sit down for dinner, because I am certain that the price of Bitcoin is going to come up, right? You know it's going to come up. So, and everybody's going to have an opinion. And yeah, it's definitely going to then set, obviously, the trend for, I'm going to predict the future. Next year's Thanksgiving will be even more fun for all of the then, arguments that were provided this year, because at every Thanksgiving table, the vast majority of people are going to be Bitcoin skeptics. The vast majority of people are going to be like, yeah, I hear it's a scam, it's this, that, and the other. But we're going to get to some real price like next year. And with that, it will just be, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda, you told me, but I was going to, oh, I should have listened. Either way, that's just one thing. In general, when I look at stocks that are in our portfolios, I see good things going on for the most part. I was going to put this in my background. Oh, yeah. Hey, there it is. When I look through here, I see lots of stocks that were given up for dead over the last couple of years. DoorDash, DocuSign. This is the 52-week high list today, by the way. What else we got? Well, that's the only two today, but on a day-to-day toast, there are so many stocks that were given up for dead that were in our portfolios that on any given day are making 52-week highs. And the environment for what I call, and I guess I made this up, so I'll take credit for it, OGI-based investing, opportunity, growth, and innovation, has been, for the most part this year, has been really, really good. And just remember, for most of 2022, all of 2023, and small parts of 2024, I was told on social media, some of the folks that used to comment and show up on YouTube live streams have disappeared. They don't want to say anything, but that the vast majority of our stocks were worth nothing, that they were the equivalent of what we had in the dot-com era in 1999 and 2000, and they were going to all go to zero. And if you're following purely the stock price, sure. That might have been your opinion, because, our stocks got crushed. Crushed. 70, 80% was just not uncommon for stocks that are now coming back. Heck, it wasn't there in the 52-week high list, but Zoom is making 52-week highs again. I tell you, the amount of grief I got on that stock alone was just incredible. But that's not to say that, I didn't get a lot of things wrong. I definitely did. But nonetheless, the core of that old portfolio from 2022 that just got destroyed, we still own it at ATG Digital in our silver tier, and it's doing very, very, very well. It's doing very well. And you're going to see in 2024, as the environment continues to improve for OGI investing, for OGI stocks and investments, we're going to see even better results. But once again, I've jumped ahead of everything, and let me just do the legal disclaimer and disclosure, which is that this live stream and the content from ATG Digital is not investment or financial advice. Many people may wonder, well, what is investment or financial advice? Well, one of the things about investment or financial advice is that you actually have a pretty legal sized document that you sign, that you give specific authorities to this person, company, to do various things on your behalf, invest on your behalf, buy and sell on your behalf. And then they themselves are restricted by law as to what they can recommend to you, what they can do. They have to go through lots of licensing by the state. So, I mean, many people, I think that, oh, this is just boilerplate that I read. I mean, no, I mean, ATG Digital, like any media related sort of like company that's writing, making content about investment, we are not investment advisors, because I mean, we don't know what your financial condition is. We don't have any agreement with you. We just are making content. The Supreme Court of the United States, I can't remember, 1970, gave people who make content something called it's called a publisher's exemption. In other words, I guess it's like free speech. We can say what we want. You're not required to follow it. You're not, under any obligation to follow it in any way, shape, or form. We don't, have any contractual agreement with you other than to just provide our ideas and content, and you can let it go through this ear and out the other ear. That's quite different with investment or financial advice, where you've pretty much given control in some way, shape, or form of your money to somebody else. So I just want to give this explanation, because many people, while they hear this all the time, they may not know, well, what is investment or financial advice? I can tell you another thing about investment or financial advice. It costs a lot more than a subscription to ATG Digital. I mean, our base subscription is $9.99 for a silver tier. Gold tier is $14.99. Now, you will pay somewhere between, I'll say on the low side, 0.25% per year of your wealth, to as much as 1 to 1.5% of your wealth to have a financial or investment advisor. So that's another big difference. So, I mean, if you're like, well, 1.5% is nothing. Well, I mean, 1.5% of let's say a $100,000 portfolio is what? About $15,000. If you have $1 million portfolio, it would be $150,000. So, I mean, it starts to amount up when you think like, hey, all of that money, instead of working for you and being in your investments, is paid to your investment advisor. Now, I mean, obviously there are some great investment advisors, and some of them are probably worth it. But either way, just so all of you understand what the point of this disclaimer and disclosure is. Next, all of the content that we make at ATG Digital is presented to you as opinion. Use it as information, engagement, and entertainment. All ATG Digital content may contain errors, oversights, and mistakes. Why do I say this? Why do I there? Because you can't take what I say or what we say as like God's word. Like, Paul said this, and so it's going to happen. And Paul, you said this, and it didn't happen. You're a horrible human being. Actually, I've gotten a lot of crap from people who specifically went against rule number 1 of the rules of the game, which is never make an all-in bet on any single investment. And very clearly, some of the people that lost a lot of money from 2022 to 2024 did something like that. They made all-in bets either on one stock, 2 stocks, and those got destroyed and they lost a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, if you're making single-size bets on something I say, something we recommend, you're backing yourself. We have no ability to be 100% correct. I mean, our portfolios are going to have winners and we're going to have losers. And some of those losers are going to be brutal, horrific, absolute, complete, utter zeros. In fact, we had a company go bankrupt in our portfolio, SunPower. That was in diamond tier. Why does that happen? Because you know what? Small companies are risky. When you're betting on the bottoms of industries to capture very low prices and get that big jump off the bottom, sometimes you take the risk of companies going bankrupt. So, understand that investment operations, which is what, buying or selling a stock, crypto, options, have significant risk and can lead to the loss of your principal, which is your money. I, the owners, employees, contractors of ATG Digital, own, trade, transact the securities that are mentioned in this video, and all content from ATG Digital. We do not take money from companies or crypto promoters, sponsors, creators to recommend their stocks or crypto tokens. I added this disclaimer because there was a mini scandal in the newsletter publishing industry, I think earlier this year, where a number of people that would be called whatever, editors, gurus, were found to be taking money from either crypto or companies to promote their stocks and crypto tokens. The SEC went and fined them, banned them. I think these folks were fired from their respective jobs. I believe that the big publishing house in this business completely cut away one entire division for this. So I was like, yeah, I mean, clearly this is becoming a trend in the newsletter arena. Why? Because I believe that sales is just like after 2022, like my contract was terminated. Obviously, a lot of Banyan Hill folks were let go along with me. There were lots more layoffs, not just at Banyan Hill, but at other companies. And I think money's kind of hard to come by, and people are more open, and companies are more open. Publishing companies, to taking money in exchange for recommending their stocks. So as I like to say, well, we may not be right all the time, but what you get from us is our independent point of view, for better, for worse, for gain, or for loss. This is the stuff that we put out on a somewhat regular basis. Substack regularly. Please join in YouTube that I'm on. The Substack, I mean, in this last year, we have done very well. I mean, we wrote about Bitcoin right before the surge to 90K. We wrote about Fannie Mae. I'll not, like the markets have improved. So, these things that we're writing about, have just jumped. So, I mean, it has been really well worth it to be subscribed to our Substack. Finally, social media, pretty active on X, and I have come up with a new social media technique to post on Instagram. I just do white face messages and pretty much writing about Bitcoin and crypto at this point in time. So you can subscribe there. So we can say we're kind of active there now again. This is a very simple, easy way to sort of like use Instagram rather than trying to come up with pictures. Facebook, we're pretty active. Dean is often there posting memes and entertaining people in all kinds of shapes and ways. All right. Let's, what was I going to put up? Well, I mean, let's talk about what I think has been top of mind for many people, which is the price of Bitcoin. So let me put this up here. Yeah, that's not it. So Bitcoin here, as you'll see, 93,684. And let's just put up this price action to talk a little, because while, we're in it for the long term, I know that many people, they fret at every drop. All right. So, I mean, you can see if you look at this pattern, which is for the last 12 months, we have a high in March. We have a low in August. Then we have a steady move up to sort of like the old high-ish of 73,800. And then we have a dip, and then we have a surge. And now we have another dip. And at least if you are an X where there's constantly people debating, you'll see this here. Bitcoin $92,000 debate, market panic or bullish opportunity. I mean, if you've been in Bitcoin, I mean, what is a 9-10% drop? I mean, we've sat through worse. And the vast majority of folks, I mean, ATG Digital hasn't had so many new subscriptions. So I'm going to say the vast majority of folks who own Bitcoin, as a result of us putting it either into portfolio at Banyan Hill, into the Profits Unlimited portfolio at Banyan Hill, or since continuing at ATG Digital, your costs are going to be what? I mean, my best guess is that the lowest costs are probably in the 20s and 30s. So everybody's well into the money on any of this. But going back to this chart and expressing my view, which is that I am completely, not concerned that like this is the top, it's all over, a crash is coming. I will stick to my research and my work that I've done over the last year and a half, which is that odds are that Bitcoin gets to 1 million. There's even a possibility it goes beyond that. In whatever the peak is, I don't know what it is. You'd have to say, well, I mean, 1 million is, based on past patterns. Whatever the peak is, it's going to come somewhere around the end of October and early December. It's not going to come at the end of October, but like I'm just giving you like the time period based on previous cycles when these peaks come. And it is going to be substantially higher than where it is today. And then the behavior that we have seen in previous cycles is that after the peak, about 1 year later after that, we get a low that is, at least based on past cycles, minimum 70-80% below the peak. So if you want to know like the future, 2 years in advance here, I'm laying it all out for you. The peak is going to come, let's say, somewhere between November and December, mid-December, and it's going to be, I'll say on the low side, 4 or 5 times where we are today, and on the high side, 10, maybe 12 times higher. And that's based on past patterns and based on the idea that Bitcoin is unlike any other asset or investment that has ever been around, at least in recorded human history, because of the fact that there is a definite, verifiable, finite amount. And second, its supply is cut every 210,000 blocks, or approximately 4 years, and it's by 50%, not by 1, not by 2, by 50%. This creates a rhythmic pattern that repeats itself every approximately 4 years. And we have seen this in 2012, we've seen this in 2016, we've seen this in 2020, and we are beginning to see this in 2024. The biggest moves come about 6 months after the halving, which was on April 19th. So we are just past the 6-month mark. So we are in the period when the supply shock, that 50% drop in supply, starts to hit. Now, if you go on social media, you go whatever your news source is. Today, there's so many news sources around the world. There's Discord, there's there's everything. I mean, some people get their information from YouTube, some people get it from X, some people get it. There's all kinds. Whatever it is, I will say that the vast majority of people will say things like Bitcoin is up because of Trump, Bitcoin is up because of inflation, Bitcoin is up because there's World War III brewing. And I'm going to say no. Bitcoin is on a rhythmic, cyclic pattern to go through a boom about 6 months that begins about 6 months post halving and then ends about like a year later, and then it goes through a bust. And that has been the repeated pattern. And the reasons why it does this in cyclical fashion is because finite number of coins and this regular cut in new supply every 210,000 blocks or 4 years. What causes the big variation in prices from 2012 halving to 16, 20 is the amount of demand there is for the asset relative to that supply. In 2012, yeah, it was huge. I mean, that was like a 2,000% gain. In 2016, it was a 1,000 something percent gain. In 2020, it was a 600 and something percent gain. Why did the demand shift from each halving? Well, it depends on the conditions for which you are exchanging Bitcoin for. What are most people exchanging Bitcoin for? Well, most of us anyway. I know we do have some international viewers from Singapore and Taiwan, I believe. We are, and I know I have some following in Nigeria as well. So I know there's folks there. We're exchanging it generally for whatever sovereign currency we have access to. So how much ever demand there is in that currency, that will drive the price point. You can say that in 2012, in 2016, under zero interest rate policies, demand was very, very high. In 2020, in the period that, where the biggest supply shock effect would happen, 2021, the Federal Reserve was already beginning to make noises about lifting rates, so that might have dampened the demand. Can't know for sure, but in 2024 and 2025, the Federal Reserve is once again in sort of ease mode. We have obviously a lot of money in our economy. How do we know this? Well, I mean, stock markets are generally at all-time highs. Real estate prices, despite home sales being in decline, are at all-time highs. So, I mean, the system is flush with liquidity. There's a lot of money out there, which suggests that we will have a big halving cycle supply shock effect this time around. People thinking about like, well, Paul, I want to buy and sell this. Well, hey, good luck. I have no magic crystal ball that can tell you from day to day what's going to happen. Obviously, I put out things on Facebook which said I think on Sunday, when it did look like the Asian market would potentially come and push Bitcoin past $100,000, I did put up on Facebook and on Instagram saying, last call for Bitcoin under 100K. That didn't work out. We got pretty close. We got to 99, but apparently at 99,000, there are a lot of people that wanted to sell. And people thinking, well, they're all selling. It must be all over. Yeah, but it's happened in every cycle. I mean, around every single sort of like milestone marker, there's been somebody that wanted to sell, whether it be 20,000, 40,000. Yeah, I mean, there's always a seller, but equally, there's always been demand that's come in for what is increasingly becoming the world's, for now, I'll say, premier digital asset as a store of value. But once, let's say I'm right, man, it goes to 1 million, or even gets to 500,000, which is what 5x, Bitcoin will be challenging gold for the like moniker of like the premier store of value around the world. I mean, gold is estimated at, I think it's like, is it 8 trillion, 9 trillion, something like that? So once it flips that, then you can say, like, hey, I mean, the world is now seeing Bitcoin as the premier store of value asset in the world. So, uh, whatever it is, we are going to go through ups and downs. It's not going to be a straight line. And my whatever I put up on social media, obviously, I mean, when it gets to 99, obviously that's the point at which it can go to 100. So, I mean, I might come across as being dumb and stupid, and I'm going to get some some trolls on it, which is all fine. I got pretty thick skin. I mean, if I can go through the bear market from 2022 and 2023, I got some thick skin from dealing with all the crap that was sent my way. But we're going to go through 100,000. And in my research of price behavior in financial markets, is that these round numbers, they draw incredible amounts of attention from the wider public that is either thinking about getting in or was planning to get in and they feel unsure. And actually, while many people think it's a sell point, the history from these books, I mean, from like the old books, from like the old market, uh, like, from like the late 1800s, 1900s, where psychology was a much more important part of how people engaged with markets, is that once things cross $100, once things cost $1,000, once things cost $10,000, you actually have a lot of people come in and bid the thing up higher by somewhere between 20-30%. And I expect that that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin as well. We're going to cross 100, and then you'll see a rush of obviously articles written, attention come to this thing, Bitcoin from around the world. The world is always, most interested in Bitcoin's price in dollars, even though obviously you can buy Bitcoin in yen and euro and Australian dollars or any other currency. But $100,000, there will be articles written, social media will go crazy, people will want to jump in, and you'll get a big boost higher. Let's talk about another very popular, what's the right word, trade asset around Bitcoin, which I think like has been getting a lot of attention in the last 2 weeks in particular, MicroStrategy. I wrote a X post a couple of days ago because there's a lot of analysis that is being put out on MicroStrategy. There is a guy named David Meldrum on YouTube. He's clearly like very, very well informed. Probably could write a textbook on convertible bonds, on all these things. And let me see if I can find it. Um, yeah, Mark Meldrum. Sorry, Mark Meldrum is his name, and you can go look him up on YouTube. And he goes through what MicroStrategy is doing, and I won't go through the video. You guys can go through yourself. I'll just sort of like forward to what he suggests this is. Mark suggests that MicroStrategy is a pyramid scheme. In other words, if you come in early, in other words, MicroStrategy has to keep doing financings to continue to keep, obviously, like each sort of like set of investors need a new set of investors to come in to be able to benefit. That's the essence of a pyramid scheme. Now, as he says in the video, the one thing about an illegal pyramid scheme is that there's no way to get out. With MicroStrategy, there's nobody locking anybody in. Pyramid schemes lock people in where you can't get out. Obviously, if you don't want to be in MicroStrategy, you can sell. If you are buying one of their bonds, you can obviously sell. So there's no one's locking in. And there's a lot of, obviously, there's, if you read the comments, there's a lot of pushback to what he's saying. And personally, I'm my way of going through any investment is not to just sit there and be like, I think this and I'm a genius, I know everything. No, my way is to question. My way is to go read what the skeptics, the critics are saying and see, does it have merit? Is it real? But then I like to think for myself. So on the one hand, you have folks like him, and there are other people who are very sophisticated, very, very informed about convertible bonds, about MicroStrategy, who are on X, on YouTube, essentially making some variation of the same point that Mark is making. Then there's Michael Saylor himself, and he is obviously very well informed as well about Bitcoin, about his convertible strategy, etc. And then, there's us who are owners of MicroStrategy and think like, oh, is this a one-time thing? Is this a trade? Should I sell now? Should I buy now? Should I hold? What should we do? And after sort of like going back and forth, especially as MicroStrategy hit like over $500, now it's like under 400. Everybody wants to know, like, was that the peak? Is it over? So my view is this, and it could change because there's going to be new information coming in, and more people providing more information. My view is that MicroStrategy is going to trade like a cyclical stock relative to Bitcoin's price. And at present, I think I put this chart up before using this really great website, which I recommend anybody that owns MicroStrategy. It's called MSTR Tracker. It's taking forever to come up, probably because so many people are on it today. Okay, there it is. It took a long time to come up. All right. So I'll go down to the simplest way to sort of like judge MicroStrategy, which I've talked about earlier, which is this NAV premium, right? So here it is. So on 11/20, which was 6 days ago, so on Monday, MicroStrategy was trading for about 3.45 times its Bitcoin hoard, if you will, or treasure chest of Bitcoin. And now it's all the way down to 2.5. So it's given up one multiple, if you will. It's gone from 3.5 to 2.5. Now it's not completely sort of like apples to apples because yesterday MicroStrategy announced that they have bought, I forget, another, I think it's like, I have another website to track this. There's another great website that you guys can check out called sailortracker.com. So yeah, yesterday they bought 55,500 Bitcoin for $97,862. And now they own 386,700 Bitcoin in total. So, I mean, these numbers obviously are adjusted. The NAV moves around depending on obviously how much they buy, and then obviously the market capitalization of Bitcoin. But my view is this, which is that MicroStrategy is going to trade for premiums relative to its Bitcoin, I think, especially when Bitcoin prices are rising. And when we go through the bust period, which according to my whatever model, theory, forecast, whatever you want to call it, when we go through that in 2026, this NAV premium will shrink or compress, probably something close to its actual Bitcoin value. So why are people willing? The essence of all the things that, if you're watching YouTube, you're on X looking for information, you're not looking for information to confirm you, you're just looking for information, is why would people pay 2 or 3 times the amount of Bitcoin to essentially get access to Bitcoin? Why not just buy Bitcoin itself, right? I mean, that's the essence of really, like, when if you watch Mark Meldrum on YouTube, there's a very sophisticated guy on X. Let's see if I can bring him up. Yeah, this guy, Andy Constan. He put up a really good post on MicroStrategy. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I can't find it. I mean, he clearly posts a lot, so it came up in my. Either way, I can't find it, but he's another person to follow. But the essence of the question is, why pay 2 or 3 times Bitcoin when you can just buy Bitcoin itself for Bitcoin's value? Why pay 2 or 3 times that through MicroStrategy? And that's the essence of the question. And the answer seems to be, like if you go by, I'll say, like, regular ideas, like, well, the bond market, some part of the bond market, the convertible bond market, can access Bitcoin. And so, they are the ones that essentially, like, justify this premium. Other people, like, well, there's some people who don't want to own Bitcoin or don't want to own the ETF, and MicroStrategy provides this nice wrapper of being within a company, but for for a huge premium, right? I mean, it's 3 times Bitcoin, right? My personal view is this, right? Human beings, we value things in ways that don't seem necessarily rational, right? We value things, we value the biggest at some premium, we value the first at some premium. And I think the way that I think regular people look at MicroStrategy, not like the sort of like the textbooks writers, is that they're building the largest treasure trove of Bitcoin on the planet. It's very unlikely that anybody is going to catch up with them. I mean, especially once Bitcoin price starts to, like, hurdle into the areas of, like, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, etc. It's going to be almost impossible to do it. So they will be both first and biggest in this thing of collecting Bitcoin. And that may seem dumb to some people, but it is obviously an achievement of a kind, and we value it. And so people are willing to assign a premium to that. And people are also willing to assign, obviously, a rising amount relative to the price of Bitcoin. In other words, it's almost like people are looking forward and saying, well, at 300,000 or 500,000, their Bitcoin is going to be worth all this. And heck, I'd rather like I want to own the company that has all of that. In some ways, it's sort of like there's a thing in finance called price to book value. In other words, companies, if you look at all their tangible assets, their buildings, their machinery, their cash, and that's called book value. And people pay 3 times book value. People pay 5 times book value. People pay 10 times book value, and that's for for idiosyncratic reasons. Hey, they're unique, they're different. Doesn't seem to be that different in many ways for Bitcoin. I mean, and MicroStrategy, they are clearly unique. They've come up with this way to extract liquidity from financial markets to buy this asset, which keeps rising in value. And thus far, nobody is really following them in scale. And their goal is essentially to capture as much of it as they can, where nobody can catch up, and that people in the stock markets see as being worth paying a premium for. So that's how I look at it. And there's like a lot of debate that's going on out there in in social media in particular, and you're definitely going to see a lot of volatility. I mean, you're seeing like what the high for MicroStrategy was 503, and now it's at 380. Yeah, you own it. It's going to have that kind of volatility, but for what it's worth, in my judgment, my opinion, as Bitcoin goes higher in 2025 and gets to the levels that I believe they're going to get to, it's going to trade for 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 times its Bitcoin. Why? Well, because they are first and they are biggest, and we will assign that a premium multiple. This is my judgment, and that's what we'll be doing when with Bitcoin with MicroStrategy in our portfolio. I've spent a lot of time on this because that was kind of like the most kind of like interesting things that I was seeing in our portfolios, and I spent a lot of time on MicroStrategy in the gold tier update this week. The another place where 2 more things I'm going to cover before I see a lot of comments. Before I go into the comments, I'll stay with crypto just for a bit longer. Let me flip this to now. One of the things that we saw this weekend is there was a surge in so many different crypto tokens. I mean, Chainlink, Uniswap. I mean, so many tokens, and you can look at the 7-day movements here. Like XRP suddenly jumped to $1.60. We don't own Cardano, but I mean, pretty much like so many of these. Stellar Lumens was up 95%. Polkadot. This is what I have said, and I believe that was going to happen, which is that as Bitcoin starts to like approach these levels where people start to peel off a little bit, some of that liquidity is going into what are called altcoins, which is pretty much everything other than Bitcoin. And the initial jump from like the bear market crypto winter prices is so huge because really there was really no market at those prices. There's really nobody trading it. Anybody of any size that wanted to get in, like even if you wanted to put a few $1 million in, you want to get in, like, well, you don't want to spread it out over days. You have to pay 30, 40, 50%. My guess is like, once we cross 100,000, we'll see waves of liquidity come into altcoins, everything from Ethereum down. Obviously, Ethereum is the second largest coin in terms of market capitalization. And we will see waves of buying for all kinds of coins where people come and they're like, hey, I want a big bet. I want a big bet before it really like moons higher. And that is like, the structure of the crypto market revealing itself, which is Bitcoin is the apex coin. as people have gains here, they peel a little bit off and it starts to sort of like drip down into the broader crypto markets. Uh, for those who are sophisticated, you know that you can yield farm and generate extraordinary amounts of liquidity by just constantly doing that again and again. So crypto will start to manufacture its own liquidity, which will now start to flow through the crypto markets, pushing up these prices, and that will continue in 2025. So the reason to bring that up is that, well, that's the first real sign we've seen that the Bitcoin liquidity is now starting to sort of like power the broader crypto markets. And then finally, before I go to comments and questions, we have also seen, despite a big move down today, but still, I mean, it's Fannie Mae is at $3.24, and Freddie Mac is in similar territory. The high, 52-week high, is $3.65. And you can see that move post the election. And now you can see the move post the election, where pre-election it's at $1.40, and now we're at $3 and something, right? I mean, and then if you look at these pretty liquid converts, preferreds, not converts. This is one that trades a lot. So I mean, I like to look at this as an indication of the. This is, I believe, a $25 par convert. So it's at near $10, which is about 45% of par value. So, I mean, it's starting to get pretty real that the market investors are beginning to see that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are in some shape, way, or form going to be set free. Unclear exactly how the government will go about doing it, but the markets are telling you that they think this is going to happen. If you just use the preferreds relative to par as a probability indicator, they're at between 45% likelihood. And the closer we get to a new administration, and people continue to think that this is going to go on, and there's been no indication from the new incoming administration that they plan to do anything other than what they were already doing when they were between 2016 and 2020. I believe you'll see these continue to move higher. All right, I am going to stop there and take questions and or comments for this pre-Thanksgiving live stream. Rashad says, let me turn off these banners. They're annoying me. There you go. Rashad. Yeah, well, thank you for attending, sir. You're a regular live stream watcher, and I appreciate you coming. Well, I don't know what a Trump pick would be. I mean, we are opportunity growth and innovation driven. We don't have any Trump picks. So I really don't have no answer for that. Longtime subscriber from BH, now ATG, you're a great coach. I can honestly say that you've taught me to look at the market in a completely different way. Well, hey, I can tell you, when I started, I looked at the market purely from, let's call it the Warren Buffett approach. But what I found after being wrong a lot, losing a lot of money, and studying, thinking, and obviously applying it in different places, is that psychology is really important. And then market mechanics are really important. There is always another side to that trade. What are they doing? What are they accumulating? What are they thinking? Like, you got to flip your thinking. Whereas I think when people first come into markets, they're so inward looking to what our goals are, how much money I want to make, versus you got to think that, hey, there is another side. There's obviously other investors, and market psychology matters. And then there is like the other team, and their goal is to make as much money. And sometimes making as much money comes at your expense, and you got to think about that. But thank you for that compliment, sir. Anthony Perry says, Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Anthony. I appreciate you attending our live stream. Another regular, happy Tuesday, and same to you. Same to you. We actually have a cheat sheet that you can download. Unfortunately, I don't know how to make this into like a link that you can click, but check that out. Our team has also put together a crypto course that is available on atgdigital.media. These are a series of videos. The way we made them is that we got questions from some mix of subscribers and also from our team asking sort of like questions, rather than it being like, hey, this is the blockchain and this. No, I mean, essentially we just get down to like, what would you want to know, right? I mean, to make you feel comfortable to invest or speculate in crypto. So check both those things out. And yeah, that is for free. That's for free. The cheat sheet is for free. The crypto course you do have to pay for. As AI agents replace jobs, young people may struggle due to needs domain. Could Bitcoin become? I just really doubt that. And the reason I doubt this idea of AI replacing everybody and us becoming some form of some like, like, I don't know, vegetables of some kind is that we have seen this thought about in every technological jump era. Initially, they thought the machines were going to replace us, and it didn't. Instead, what human beings did is that we found a way to use those machines as tools. And while I know that there are people that believe this, I do not believe this. I believe that we will find a way to use AI as a tool, and that is the most likely outcome of AI. Bitcoin, I think, is a technology that addresses money, which is fundamental to human life, and the critical factor is that with money, the critical factor is trust. Fiat currency, what is fiat currency? Well, dollars, right? I mean, what they're issued, they carry over the trust from the gold standard, even though they don't really deserve it anymore. We print fiat money with almost unlimited, like there's no scarcity. Bitcoin and the blockchain addresses this issue. You no longer need to trust the central authority of the Federal Reserve and the US government. Instead, you go on the blockchain. Tells you how much has been issued, tells you how much exists, tells you how much of what's been issued, where it is. It is transparent, it is finite, it is visible to all. And that's really the revolution of Bitcoin and crypto. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and to me as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for including the live link in the Substack since I don't have Facebook. We'll try to do that as much as we can. I mean, I've been keeping the audiences separate, even though one person suggested that I should just broadcast to X, Facebook, heck, I mean, Instagram all at once. In other words, do live to YouTube, this live stream go out to all the places all at once. But my sense is that each place has a slightly different audience that wants some slightly different things. And I don't know, for now, at least I'm going to keep it all separate. But when I do the Facebook monthly, we'll put it in the Substack. Thanks for introducing me to Bitcoin. May not have gotten into it on my own. Very grateful to you. I'm grateful to you for allowing me to introduce you to that. I mean, I was doing a ATG digital, I don't know, seminar, webinar, whatever, or just a live stream for the folks that help get started. If you don't know, like ATG Digital was crowdfunded by something like 2,000 old Banyan Hill subscribers, and some folks gave $10,000. So we have a I think it's a quarterly event that we do, and I said, well, you can have all this knowledge, you can have all this understanding, and not have anybody to give it to. So I'm grateful to have all of y'all to give it to. Does anyone here do short-term trading with crypto? We do not do short-term trading because I think short-term trading, is like within a day you buying and selling. We do some short-ish trading in our platinum tier crypto. But I don't think that would fit probably what you're looking for, which is very fast turnover. There, the turnover can be as long as 90 days, but sometimes it's 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. It depends on the market environment. I think, if you simply go on X and go on Discord, I mean, I think Discord is like the place where most short-term crypto traders are. I do not do contract trading. The vast majority of our audience is not incredibly sophisticated. And in fact, we try to keep it incredibly simple. All of the things that we recommend in our longer term portfolios, which are silver, gold, and diamond, all of them trade on Coinbase. Many of them trade on Robinhood, and that is by design. We will not pretty much, go past that because it's truthfully, it's complicated to get into all that. And then, many of them, and then everything in platinum as well trades on Coinbase. Paul, I think with the demand this cycle, it would be different. Nation demand, the dip will be minimal. I disagree. I think the dip will be heart smashing as usual. And we are counting on that. We're not going to sell, but I will definitely tell ATG Digital, like, hey, this is the schedule approximately. And you should expect that, from whatever, let's say we get to 1 million, let's say we do 1.5 million, it will be a smash. It will be 70, it will be 75%. I believe you can count on that, irrespective of all of these things that seem like they are unusual or unique in this cycle. A sell-off at the psychological was generally expected. Well, we never hit 100K. So I think you're correct. It's actually more that as you approach these markers, the selling sort of rises. But once you get past it, it's actually buying that comes in. And also, I track the Bitcoin futures. The Bitcoin futures have actually traded above $100,000 for quite some time now, especially for the forward contracts in February, April, and March, for March and April. Like the Federal Reserve System. Yeah. Would be great for you to debate, have productive discussion, Peter Schiff, about well, Peter Schiff, says the same thing over and over again, has been wrong for Bitcoin essentially his entire life. So there's no point debating somebody who has a fixed point of view. Plus I've never found debating anybody to be like, if you win the debate, does it mean that Bitcoin's going to go to zero or that gold's not going to go up? Or no, it's nothing. Debating, I always find like, there is no real point to it. So, thank you. I feel honored, but I'll pass on that. So happy Thanksgiving to you, Alex. I appreciate the good wishes. More Thanksgiving wishes. Michael Price. Oh, yeah. MNKD. We're at the 1 hour mark. Yeah, I think I'll do my next live stream on MNKD because with respect to its convertible bond and the way that hedging operates. And MNKD's management, which is Mankind, has indicated they plan to pay off that bond, which means that there is the potential for a very large short squeeze in that stock. but it's an hour and I don't want to get into it today. So maybe on the next live stream, somebody remind me and I will get into some of that. What do I think about the miners in our different tiers? I mean, they all have slightly different costs. Um, the cost of mining Bitcoin, the average cost is somewhere around 84,000. The bigger ones are the most efficient. They have been able to invest in the most efficient miners, and so they have the greatest leverage to a rising Bitcoin price. Mara is also pursuing a treasury strategy with Bitcoin, so it should get an extra premium. The others have smaller amounts. So there's not one, sort of like a way to look at them all. Yes, they will all benefit from a rising Bitcoin price, but in different degrees and at different points. Because if you have a slightly higher cost, let's say your cost is 90,000, right now you're only making 3,000. But if your cost is 85, you're making 9, right? However, some of the smaller companies are more leveraged in the sense that, I mean, they have a very small amount of equity. They might have debt. So the return on equity for them would be huge at higher prices. So there's not a one size fits all way necessarily at looking at all of them. The miners aren't lagging. I mean, they're not lagging. They're doing exactly what they're doing. They're only lagging to the extent that you have the expectation that these are one-for-one proxies with Bitcoin or one-for-one proxy with MicroStrategy. If you look at the behavior of miners, they go up the most really towards the end of the Bitcoin cycle. Why? Because the price spread against their cost is enormous. Market investors take that and extrapolate that out to the future, put a multiple on it. That's what runs the gains higher. The biggest gains in miners are going to come in 2025. So that's really the thing. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Steve, and appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Well, I mean, the dollar is also backed by our economy. I mean, and it is the premier fiat asset in the world. And for what it's worth, it's not going anywhere. In fact, most likely, more higher prices of Bitcoin will make even more people use the dollars because all the other currencies are going to be destroyed against it in a much greater way. Well, I mean, I've been, like being that I never took money from them to sign their non-disclosure agreement. So I can speak very openly. I mean, I never wanted to leave Banyan Hill. They terminated my contract. And I made the mistake of saying, well, at the time I was like, so upset about it. And I said, well, I'll retire from Banyan Hill. They took that and then like essentially put that into all the communications, which are of course controlled by them. And when I wanted to say, well, retiring from Banyan Hill, because I really had no choice, and they terminated my contract. They fired our entire team, and so I wasn't prepared for any of that. Thankfully, Dean, his wife, B, persuaded him to, talk to me, and I said, okay, like, I mean, if you can set everything up, yeah, I mean, I will continue and support, everyone. And I'm incredibly grateful for, our team now, which is our small team of 8. We had something like 22 plus on our team at Banyan Hill. That's just the direct team. I mean, I think Banyan Hill at the time my contract was terminated, they probably had like 150 people. So, I mean, we've gone from having like every resource on the planet to having just enough. I mean, we raised enough on the crowdfunding to pay for the team salaries. And now we're sort of like, we're happy. We are serving people that want what we provide. We don't have to make those incredible 45-minute marketing videos. I mean, that used to be 30, 40% of my time. And I mean, then and of course, I mean, you guys used to be like harassed with those emails like endlessly. I mean, I would not really given much choice in any of that because they control the email list, and they can use your name, and they can use, everything is much easier, much simpler, with everything sort of like under our own control. And I am grateful for all of you for sticking with me and our team now that we're at ATG Digital. So thank you very much. Appreciate your format. Well, the goal, with ATG Digital is ultimately to be of as much use as we can to all of you. We have no guarantee that, we're necessarily going to be paid back, but we think like, hey, you put it forward, and it is human nature to reciprocate. And if we are useful, and as Elon says, I mean, the idea of any company, of any product or service is to be as useful as you can to the people that want it. And that's our goal as well. Well, thank you, Nitin. I appreciate that. And if I'm right, like this is just like, we've seen our stocks just starting to get bid up. Every day, there's more stocks that are coming, that are getting bid up as people look forward and they're seeing growth and opportunity and innovation, seeing a big role. As I was saying in, I think, the Facebook live stream, I made that promotional video about America 2.0. I was clearly early, but I don't think I was wrong. I think America 2.0 in 2025, you'll definitely see, more and more and more visible, clear signs that we are sort of really embracing this new sort of frontier driven by all these incredible technologies that really just need to be set free and allowed to go. Yeah, 1 to 3 minute trades. We just are not set up for that. I mean, we by the time I initiate a trade, it takes 40 minutes for us to push it out there because our team has to vet what it is. You want somebody that's, like pushing out trades on Discord, just like hitting out. That's not us. Just have to be 100% truthful. Yeah, I mean, people claim they can make 8 to 10,000 every day. I've never seen that. There's also downsides where you lose $8 to $10,000. So, I mean, people talk about the money they make, but no one talks about the losers. And, for sure, there are some people that make a lot of money, but the truth is that in markets, there's also a lot of people that lose money. These things go both ways, and there's no one that I've seen that has like some perfect, way to capture markets. But I do know there are people buying and selling meme coins, and all of these things and making large amounts of money, and good for them. That is not our game. That is not our gig. All right. Once again, I want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, check out the crypto cheat sheet, and also check out the crypto course, and also general subscriptions, all of which are at atgdigital.media. Thank you all. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week. This is Paul saying bye.